Hey, stop me if you've heard this one before. The 49ers are negotiating with players and they're not really sure what to do right now. We'll talk about it. New Sprint Right Option podcast starts now.
Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners. Sprint Right Option podcast. We are live. It is a new edition of the Sprint Right Option podcast. I am Andrew Pasquini, joined as always by Jason Aponte. And Jason, we're going to start the podcast off on a different foot today. There was something happened. Not news. It's not news. It's just a thing that happened. Stephen A. Smith out here offering to throw hands with LeBron James.
Yep.
So Jason, I do care how your day is going. I really do. But I feel like in the spirit of we're talking about podcasters and journalists throwing hands with athletes. Which 49er player would you want to select to fight journalists? We're just going to throw journalists out there because Stephen A is that. Which Niners player are you taking in an all-out Royal Rumble against journalists?
Right, like who's gonna win?
Yes.
Give me Juwan Jennings. I mean, okay. Juwan Jennings is a crash out, like absolutely a crash out, and that's why we love him. I mean, he's literally blocking people into Gatorade and throwing them out the club, and he just invites the contact play after play. When someone plays a position that normally that player wants hands off of them, but wants hands on every single play, give me that guy. I'll take Juwan Jennings right off the bat.
I like Juwan Jennings, especially if he enters this hypothetical boxing ring. If you tell him it's third down going into it, like you're good. But I think the obvious pick here is Trent. It's got to be Trent, right?
Yeah, but that's keeping it. That's like not for you. I just see the comments there, like it's obviously Trent Williams. Yeah, like that's fine. But I'm just saying, like I think Trent's a giant man, but who's crazier? I think Juwan Jennings is crazier than Trent Williams.
I like the idea of that. My thing is though, Jay, not to brag or nothing. My arms are sore. I've been going to the gym lately, just
all right.
Whatever, I've been there 3 times the last week. My arms fucking hurt. I'm crying. But there's a guy the last 2 times I've gone. He has a shirt. I want to approach him so bad, but I get social anxiety. He has a shirt that says guns don't kill people. Trent Williams kills people.
Love it.
And I've seen that shirt so many times in the past couple of weeks that my pick is Trent Williams. I think Trent Williams, if you put him in the ring against Stephen A. Smith, journalist, Stephen A. Smith started this conversation. I don't even think the fight starts. I think the journalist just turns around and it's like, we're done. We're good. We're good here. I don't know what we're doing.
So the question I have, and we're starting off on a heater. I promise you we'll get to the 49ers stuff, but I just, want to keep it light because, I feel like a lot of these things have been repeated and, whatever. But how do you approach a guy in the gym without coming off weird, creepy, or...
I thought do you want to hear the honest one?
Go for it.
I've thought about, hey, I have a 49ers podcast, so this isn't weird. I like your
That's
shirt.
Good.
I think that's like the easiest way to do it. Just the instant, like, hey, like I'm a Niners fan. I do Niners stuff. So like, I'm genuinely telling you, I appreciate it. That's my first thought, which I think is why I haven't approached him, because I feel like that's objectively the weirdest way to do it.
I don't think so. I think that's the easiest way, because if you're just like, hey, bro, nice shirt, that can be misconstrued, and then you've got a whole bunch of other problems. I think, hey, this isn't weird. I have a 49ers podcast, and I'm a 49ers media member, according to a bracket. I just really enjoy this shirt, and I'm gonna walk away.
According to a bracket that I have been bounced out in the first round 3 years in a row now. The dance.
I'm tired of our fan base not supporting Andrew Pasquini, man. Shame on you guys. By the way, run up them likes. If you guys are in here, please send the likes up on this video. That'll help us out a lot. But yeah, I'm sorry, Andrew. Like, I don't understand that, man. I'll tell you this. It wasn't an easy choice. My boss, who literally pays the bills, and my best friend, who I do a podcast with, it was an easy decision. It was Andrew Pasquini for sure. But shout out to Kyle Posey, man. A lot of people like Kyle.
If I could find it really quick here, I texted him about our matchup. It was boop boop boop. He said, like the 12 seed being favored over the 5 seed, you'll run away with this. And I said, advanced
Modest Kyle
analytics.
Posey.
I said advanced analytics, but I've never made it out of the first round, so I think you'll do fine. And then he said, not sure I have either. A battle of the team nobody wants. KP goes through. I personally would have voted for KP. I'm not going to say it out loud that I did because I didn't. I voted for myself approximately 200 times. It didn't work for me, so that's okay.
200 is an interesting number.
It was a horrible first round draw for me. I was hoping we could rig it to get the Sprint Right Option podcast final, but you know, there's as Niner fans, we're really good at saying always next year, right? Always.
Oh, that was rude. And 200 is a really interesting number. I like that a lot. But yeah, look, a lot of people like KP, and KP's modest and humble. But you know what? Enough about brackets and about media members fighting 49ers players. There's actual 49ers news and a bunch of reports that came out today, right, Andrew?
There's several reports, and maybe a look behind the curtain a little bit, Jason. This is an episode that should have happened on Monday,
correct?
But your boy is having some termite problems at his apartment, and so I haven't been able to record the past couple of days. So
speaking of curtain,
exactly. Hey, thank God we don't need a curtain. We were ideally avoiding that. So apologize that we're a couple days late here. It is Andrew's fault, but we're here. Little Brandon Aiyuk news came out. There was rumors on Monday. I'm going to use the word rumor a lot today, Jason. I feel like this is a big rumor episode. There was a rumor on Monday that if there were a team to trade for Brandon Aiyuk at this point, it would be the Cleveland Browns, which makes sense because the Browns were connected to Aiyuk last offseason. Aiyuk already turned them down, though, it seemed, because apparently there was some sort of trade in place, but Aiyuk did not want to sign to an extension. Reportedly, because there's a couple players there. I think we could all name one ourselves of who he might not want to share a locker room / quarterback receiver combination with. But the rumors are now churning that Brandon Aiyuk, the Browns, there's a connection there. Diana Rossini of The Athletic yesterday on Tuesday reported that, there is motivation to trade Aiyuk. She sees an Aiyuk trade as unlikely. And then Jordan Schultz as well today. He came out and reported that multiple teams have called the Niners about Aiyuk. It seems an Aiyuk trade is unlikely at this moment as well. But something that maybe makes it a little more likely, Jason Aponte, has been heavily reported that Brandon Aiyuk is due a $22.85 million roster bonus on April 1st, which is 5 days away. So they have listen, I see both sides. I am on the side of not trading Brandon Aiyuk. I think Brandon Aiyuk's a very good football player, and to make a very good football team, you need to have a lot of very good football players. But I see the motivation of trading him, and I'm sure we'll talk about it here over the next 10 minutes or so about why we should, why we shouldn't. But I think that 22.85 million number is kind of hanging heavy, especially for a team that went to Mike Silver to talk about how they don't want to spend much money this offseason. So, Jason, where do you sit kind of 2 days removed from the big report of the Niners and the Browns? Maybe not. Where are you sitting on the Aiyuk situation right now?
Yeah, I think the 49ers would like to get out from this contract. And we've talked about it. Buyer's remorse, not liking the way the negotiation went, literally being on the doorstep of trading him, and then Kyle Shanahan intervening. And in the Mike Silver report, a lot of the talk was centered around how much money they want to save. But I took away the part about emotional attachments to the player, which felt like what the Kyle Shanahan thing was about him running upstairs and saying, stop the trade, make sure you bring him in. I'm sure they really didn't like the way that he acted during the season. We all know about Red Shortgate and all that stuff. And then when you throw in the chance that Brandon Aiyuk is going to have a tough time with his knee injury that he's recovering from, I think it's a perfect storm of circumstances for the 49ers to say, hey, listen, we want from out from under this. Having said that, he's not going anywhere. So it doesn't matter. Like, all this is moot. I do think the 49ers are motivated to move him, but he's not going anywhere. When you throw in the money, when you throw in the injury, and when you throw in the destination and the possibility that Brandon Aiyuk will kick and scream, you can say all you want about, well, it's not up to him, we'll send him. Fine. That's all well and good. But why would the Cleveland Browns even invite that situation to them if they think that, one, Brandon Aiyuk might slow play his knee injury, two, might just say, you know what, I don't care, find me, and then just become a bigger problem? Why would you send draft capital for something that you don't think is going to be a slam dunk certainty. So that's the part that I think people have my words a little misconstrued about. It's not a no trade clause, but if you're trading for Brandon Aiyuk and you think he's going to be a problem, why would you do that on top of paying him on top of his injury? So yeah, no, Brandon Ayuk's not going anywhere, unfortunately. Guys that want him gone, not me. But think about this. The risk reward factor, you risk him not returning to form. The reward, the 49ers offensive weapons get better because regardless of what you feel about him, he's really good at football. That's why he wanted the amount of money that he had.
Yeah, I don't think he gets traded at this moment. I think you're spot on with that. However, this is the second offseason in a row now where we're kind of tiptoeing around Brandon Aiyuk trade rumors. And at some
prediction,
point,
it'll happen again next year, especially if he has a really good year.
That was what I was getting to. No, you're totally fine. No biggie. It's just they've tiptoed around this trade rumor. At some point, that has to be tiring on Aiyuk. It has to be tiring on the team. But it's really a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because if you move him now, there is a potential. I see Daza in the chat. How bad will it look if BA comes back healthy after a potential trade? It looks like 2023. Yes, absolutely that could happen. However, on the flip side, it's 2 off seasons in a row where you're trying to trade him. Let's say he comes back and returns to somewhat of the 2023 form. Well, are you keeping him, or are you going to make it a third consecutive year where we're looking to move on from Aiyuk because he exceeded expectations? DK, I'll celebrate when we trade BA praying for.
Wait a minute. Weren't you traded to Pittsburgh? Why did you?
Yeah, DK.
Yeah, DK. I thought. I mean, I know that he tortured you when you were a Seahawk, but now you're a Steeler. This has nothing to do with you anymore.
Wait. Maybe he's praying for the Steelers to trade for BA because he is. I'll celebrate when he's a Steeler.
And let's think outside the box when it comes to nicknames. DK and BA, that shit goes kind of hard. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. No, but it just really comes down to what the Niners gain right now for trading him is $22.85 million, right? That's a big thing. However, you're not going to get the second pick. You're not going to get a second round pick. You're not going to get a third round pick. DK, we love you, Niner fan forever. Of course you are. We're
just comment the other name. Yeah,
love you.
Having some fun, buddy.
I appreciate you being here. But it's such a tricky spot because the knee fucks everything up. And just the weird thing with me is going back to last year, right? The Mike Silver article talked about, how close they were to trading Brandon Aiyuk and how close they were to moving on from him. And if that's the case, man, they should just rip the Band-Aid off because the character concerns are there now. They exist, right? So it can't be this half-ass, we kind of want to trade him because of character concerns, but we also want to get the right price. Well, there is no right price at this point. That's out the window. And it essentially, at this point, because we know about the off the field issues, whatever we want to call it, I'm going to super antics. There we go. That's a proper red pants. Sorry. We know about red pants, right? Just make a decision. Just make a choice because it feels like they're almost blaming him for tearing his ACL. They, at this point, I can see an interpretation of all this as well, yeah, it sucks he tore his ACL. What do we do? So I would just rather the Niners make a firm decision. And I know we're not going to get that until probably never, but I would just like somebody to come out and say, yes, we are shopping him. We're looking to move him, or, hey, we're fielding offers, but it's going to have to be a blowaway deal, which I guess hasn't really been said. I just don't like the dancing around it because if you trade Brandon Aiyuk, Jason, I think the 11th pick, you got to talk about a receiver because I just don't think you can be comfortable with Ricky Pearsall, Jawan Jennings, DeMarcus Robinson. And I know, of course, George Kittle exists, but I'm just talking the receiver room. You cannot sit there and tell me that that's a receiving core that's going to be a competitive receiving core on an allegedly competitive team. And B, you can't tell me that's a receiving core you're comfortable with giving a quarterback 50 million, 55 million, whatever it is. You can't strip all of Brock Purdy's weapons away without replace. So the sooner I'm very happy about the April 1st thing because it gives the Niners 3 weeks before the draft to kind of have a decision cinched in. But the other like kind of small like background thing, because it's the San Francisco 49ers, Jason, is I can totally see a world where they wait and the $22.85 million roster bonus kicks in and then they still trade him because it's the San Francisco 49ers and they really like to surprise you and never really like to tell you what's going on. So I do like this quasi deadline of April 1st for a decision to be made. But I would prefer it to be made sooner rather than later because I cannot imagine a world like if the Niners trade Brandon Aiyuk and Tet McMillan is sitting there at 11, how do you not take it? But if you have Aiyuk on the roster, then maybe you can skip it. I know the knee situation causes questions. I'm essentially asking for the Niners to make a decision, and I feel like this is the 5th year in a row I've asked them to do it regarding a player, but I just would like some sort of decision going forward, and I think we'll get that decision here in the next couple of days with this deadline of April 1st.
Yeah, and Gojira Von Jinx, channel member, thank you for the comment. How bad will it look if BA comes back and is totally broken? Both paths have a risk. That's the point. This is the turning point, right? Because if you trade him and he goes on and hoops, you look bad. You hold on to him and he doesn't hoop, then you have a largely immovable contract. And if you do move it, you're moving it for pennies on a dollar. Perhaps there's some up and down season where you see something at the deadline and you move him and then you're able to, avoid the next year's signing bonus and then you can get a pick as well too. But I did kind of want to talk about this idea of the 49ers moving him before April 1st. The biggest issue is you're signaling to the NFL world that now wide receiver is a need. I think the 49ers are going to draft the wide receiver regardless if Brandon Aiyuk is on this roster or not. But you're signaling to the NFL world very early that you are in the market for a wide receiver. And what does that lead to? That leads to teams jumping in front of you for a player that you may want. I don't know if the 49ers would have spent the 11th pick on Tet McMillan, but let's just say for argument's sake, that's who exactly they were targeting. Now, a team has jumped in front of you. You didn't get Tet McMillan. You're at 11 again. You still need a wide receiver. So when your second pick comes around, people are going to suspect that you want a wide receiver. It's too early to make a move like this. And the only problem is April 1st, this money comes in. If you were to move Brandon Aiyuk, it would be on draft day. And then you would move into that spot that you want to be at. And you would be able to get the guy that you want. Yeah. But signaling to the NFL world, we need another wide receiver. We may be in the business of a wide receiver in 11, pricks everybody's ears up, and then people jump you, and then you have to still fill that need even on your second pick, on your back end, and teams will continue to jump you because they believe that that is a need. Again, the 49ers are still going to draft the wide receiver, whether Brandon Aiyuk is here or not. But if you do this so early, you are telling the NFL world, we are in the business of our first 3 picks having to be a wide receiver one way or another. And that is going to lead to problems because it's going to throw off your draft strategy if everyone has an idea of what you're looking for.
Yeah, and I liked the good news is, Jason, is this feels like a very good receiver class, right? To have this issue. Maybe in the first couple of days. I would have liked it
last year. I would have liked it
last year would have been very nice as well, but I think there's some now. Obviously, Tet McMillan's a big one.
Oh no, we're not doing this. Now all of a sudden everybody likes Kyle Williams. No, we're not doing this. We are not doing this.
I was about ready to name drop Kyle Williams myself.
No, because no. Because as soon as I came out with that, everybody wants to cry about fumbles in 2012. That has nothing to do with the player that he is now. He's a baller, and they should draft Kyle Williams even if Brandon Aiyuk is here. But what I mean is like. It's the problem is you cannot signal what what a need is right off the bat because you will get jumped time and time again, and then you're going to end up settling for players that aren't high on your board. Keep this flexibility that you have.
Yes, and I like that idea. It's just that $22.85 million roster bonus makes it tough to kind of sit and wait. But you look at the receivers listed, and especially in the first 2 days, is if you don't get Tet, because I don't think the Niners should take a receiver at 11. If they trade Aiyuk, I don't think so. I'm saying in a hypothetical world where you move off of Aiyuk and Tet's sitting there, there's guys like Matthew Golden. I've almost convinced myself that Golden is a Niner. I don't know why. I don't think they're getting him at 11.
He's going in the first though. They've got to trade back in. They've got to trade back in the first.
He would be a trade back candidate. But then even on day 2, you know, we're talking Kyle Williams, we're talking Higgins out of Iowa State, we're talking Elik Ayo-Mayer, Jalen Knoll, right? There's a lot of guys. So there's just a lot of receivers out. Jack Beck out there, Dante Thornton. There's a lot of receivers out there. So the Niners can make it work. It's just all those names I listed, you can draft with Aiyuk on the roster, right? So am I reading this one out loud? Speaking of the dude named Kyle Williams, I'm going to J up.
Fine.
Yeah, no, like I get that. I get that point. It's very fair. But the good news is we got good news. Mac Jones took number 10. So maybe the voodoo's gone.
James.
Maybe it's the Williams 10 combo. But yeah, no, listen, I understand that. I had that joke a month ago. It's a fun joke to make. And I'm so excited to rehash the joke when the Niners inevitably take Kyle Williams. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to rehashing the joke. But dude's a baller. Like let's just talk about it.
James, and also therapy helped me understand that you have to let things go. Things that are out of your control, right? If someone does something to you on purpose, that's harder to let go. But when things happen, like Kyle Williams fumbling in the NFC Championship game, he wasn't doing that specifically to you. So you have to just let that go. And you also have to remember that other people's actions have no bearing on how you can move forward. When other people have actions that force you to change the way and the person that you are, this is when hurt people hurt people. Therapy helps a lot. And when I look at the player, that player is far more fucking talented than Kyle Williams ever will be. And he has far more wide receiver in his pinky than that guy ever did. And he doesn't wear number 10. Mac Jones does.
Yeah, Mac Jones has 10 now.
So we can shift the curse onto the guy that we didn't want at number 3 in Mac Jones. Ronnie Bell can't hurt us anymore. Yes. Jimmy Garoppolo is a backup for the Rams. And who's the other 10? And Kyle Williams is no longer around. So, James, I just want you to be happy. That's all. Moving forward, I just want you to be happy, and I just want you to let that hurt go. That's all.
Look, James even says thanks, Aponte. So he appreciated your therapizing. He really appreciated that. But yeah, just back to the Aiyuk point is you can draft any of those names we just listed, even with Brandon Aiyuk on the roster. And I'm a firm believer of he's a good football player, and the Niners should hold on to that.
And I think with this receiver class, the real value is going to be in the middle rounds. Yeah. Everyone's enamored with Tet because the lazy comp is Drake London. I see a little bit of Mike Evans, not Mike Williams. Mike Evans, right? And I think because he's not necessarily a separator, he's more of a jump ball, go get it guy. Everybody's going to say Drake London. I think Drake London gets a little underrated with his route running. He's more, and if he's Mike Evans, that's great. Matthew Golden's gotten a lot of hype. That's fine. Emeka from OSU, that's fine. It's the middle round guys, Jalen Knoll, Jaden Higgins, Jack Beck, Kyle Williams, even I know everybody hates his 40 time, Tez Johnson. Guys like that are going to be the ones that we look from this receiver class and say, damn, everybody had it wrong. This isn't a top end heavy draft, right? If this was last year and it was Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison and, like those guys, then you'd be excited to move off Aiyuk and say, listen, we got our guy right here. I don't see that top end portion of the wide receiver group. Everybody that's going to return value from this group is going to be in the middle to late rounds. And that's where the 49ers should still stick if they were going for wide receiver. But sticking in the middle rounds with Brandon Aiyuk is easier than when it's without, and you wanna get somebody who is going to fill that X role as a traditional X.
Talking about whether or not they have Aiyuk, let's just talk hypothetically. They do trade him to Cleveland. Somebody name and return that was mentioned heavily on Monday, especially from Cleveland Browns Twitter, is right guard Wyatt Teller. Cleveland signed offensive guard Tevin Jenkins in free agency. Some people saw it as a potential insurance for Joel Bitonio when he retires. However, some people saw it as a potential to trade Wyatt Teller.
He's a starter.
Yeah, that's the thing is now if you're saying Tevin Jenkins is a starter and you have Joel Bitonio as your starter, 12th year veteran, retiring I think at the end of this season, maybe soon. Now, what do you do with Wyatt Teller? He's available for trade, it seems. Niners have that need. Now, the really concern I have for him is he has 61 starts and 68 potential games over the last 4 seasons. He's healthy. He plays plenty. My concern is the Niners already have a right guard with Dominic Puni. The last time Tellers played left guard was his rookie season. He had 8 games there. So you kind of run into the flipping of a guard. I think Dominic Puni would be the guy you flip over.
I'd move Puni
because that's the name that I mean they've kind of floated that. But also too, it's another situation where even if you flip Teller to left guard, right? You have Trent Williams to your left, and it makes things a lot easier for you. So like that transition might not be too terrible. But I would be on the side of Puni flipping over to the left guard. Just some stuff on Wyatt Teller real quick. 3-time Pro Bowler, 21, 22, 23. He was a 2-time second team All-Pro in 20 and 21. Last 4 seasons, he's played 4,000 snaps, 16 sacks allowed, 75 hurries, 104 pressures. Last year, not great. He missed some time, 27 pressures allowed in his, I think it was 13 games. I think he only missed 4 games. So potential name to think about. It also addresses a need, and that I think that's the only way the Aiyuk trade makes sense to me is I don't necessarily want a draft pick. Like I know draft picks are fun. Draft picks are cool. They're trendy, right? Unless you're the Rams, you say fuck them picks, and that made sense for them. But if you can address a need with an Aiyuk trade, I know you're creating a slight need at receiver with it. But as we mentioned, there's a lot of names in this draft that you can go get. If you can address a need like offensive line or a pass rusher, I don't think you're getting a pass rusher for Brandon Aiyuk, at least a pass rusher that's worth a damn.
Myles Garrett.
But if you, are we throwing that one back out there? He signed the extension just to leave. But Wyatt Teller would be a nice complementary piece to maybe like a 6th round pick or a 5th round pick, just to kind of address a need while moving on from Aiyuk. But again, I'm not on the side of trading Aiyuk.
My issue is Wyatt Teller only has 1 year left on his deal.
Mm-hmm.
So sending Brandon Aiyuk away for a rental, it doesn't jive. Yeah. And the real thing that's really going on is, 2 things. Cleveland's weighing the risk of if we trade for Brandon Aiyuk, because again, it's not the 49ers problem. Once they trade him, they trade him. But if you're Cleveland, it's your problem. That's why you have to hesitate if Brandon Aiyuk's going to come in and be, a menace, or he's going to slow play his injury. It's not the 49ers. If the 49ers really, really wanted to get rid of him, they would have said, we don't care, get out. And now you're Cleveland's problem. But my problem is Cleveland has to inherit that risk with that contract, because if he doesn't want to be there, then he's a malcontent. So that's why the Cleveland thing doesn't make sense to me, because Cleveland will never be assured of the fact that Brandon Aiyuk's going to be in, especially Kenny Pickett is their fucking starting quarterback right now. And they're not going to take Shedeur Sanders at 2, it sounds like. Abdul Carter is going to be the pick, and they'll probably wait for Kirk Cousins to come free, and who wants that? And one more layer, Brandon Aiyuk wants 16 targets. Well, get ready to learn Kevin Stefanski, guy, because they're going to run the football 300 times and not throw you the ball that much. Yeah. So all of those factors, the Browns are out, man. That's it. It's done. Because it's not about the 49ers saying you have no choice. It's if I'm the Cleveland Browns, why would I invite a possible problem into my locker room and somebody who doesn't want to be here? And why would I even take that risk when I'm going to give you draft capital and players? So the Wyatt Teller thing is a rental, and it sounds like his contract is a little bit harder to get rid of as well too. But that's who they're offering. I see Jedrick Wills. He's a free agent, if I'm not mistaken. So I just don't see Cleveland. I don't see it. I don't see it. And it's not because Brandon Aiyuk has a no trade clause. I want to make sure I say this again and I say it clearly. It's not because Brandon Aiyuk has a no trade clause. It's not because the 49ers wouldn't do that to Brandon Aiyuk. It's because the Cleveland Browns have to understand the risk of taking on someone who is paid that much, doesn't want to be there, and can be a possible problem. Now, on the flip side of that, the Cleveland Browns are really fucking stupid, and they have done dumber things than that. So maybe I'm just making things up, but if there's a stupid franchise Mount Rushmore, the Cleveland Browns are one of the 4 franchises that are on there. So Maybe I just said all that. Maybe I'm just trying to sound smart for the Cleveland Browns, but they certainly are fucking stupid. So that let's not forget that.
Well, the Browns connection almost reminds me of what, 2016, 17, when the Niners were in on Odell Beckham, right? You remember the Odell Beckham when the Giants were trying to trade him, and it was like the DeForest Buckner rumors or whatever it was.
Ooh, I like this.
And who are the four? We'll get to the four Mount Rushmores here.
I'm gonna start this one, Jesse, and then we'll get back to it. I like this.
We'll get to the Mount Rushmore of stupid.
The Mount Rushmores of stupid fucking franchises. I love it, man. But don't listen to this episode in the car, guys. I'm sorry with your kids. Yeah. I'm sorry.
But it reminds me of that. Is like Odell Beckham would have been exciting on the 2017 Niners, but it doesn't really they weren't a receiver away from being good. And so it made sense they didn't trade for him. And I can think of a team that did trade for him that wasn't a receiver away, and they tried to force the Odell Beckham trade, and it didn't work out very well for them. Oh, yeah, it was weird. It was the Cleveland Browns who did it, right? And that's kind of how I feel the same. It's like, yes, like in a vacuum, the Browns make sense. They need talent. But receiver is a position where, like, you don't prioritize it. It's not. I like that. No, I like that's good. I won't pick my kids up.
I don't like that. Don't do that.
Well, no. Pick your kids up after the podcast. Just don't.
Okay. Please see your kids.
Yeah, after the podcast, please. But the Browns aren't a receiver away. They're not a receiver away. The teams that would make sense for Brandon Aiyuk would be like the Buffalo Bills, right? They could use a receiver. Everything's set for the Bills. The Chiefs, right? But no team's going to do that. They're not going to do that because they don't have the cap room, and it's also a big risk to take. So I just don't see the motivation for Cleveland to do it, especially after last offseason where Aiyuk pretty much told them he's not going to sign an extension with them. But as Jason said, it's the Cleveland Browns. They make mistakes like this. I mean, they the biggest mistake of all, they found out a certain quarterback had a lot of accusations against them and said, yep, $235 guaranteed.
Guaranteed. Buddy. Every single dollar guaranteed.
So it's a dumb front office. It's not a smart team, but I don't see how, again, I'm saying this as a person who loves Brandon Aiyuk. I don't see how trading for an injured Brandon Aiyuk does anything for the 2025 Cleveland Browns and even beyond that.
Well, I'm glad that we were able to squeeze 32 minutes of content from something that we literally agree on. I think we had to go through the schematics of it because I just keep seeing Cleveland. I'm just like, why? Right? Because if there was ever an opportunity, and I think this is the reason that he said no to the Patriots, was because I don't know what the quarterback situation is. Well, hello, Drake May. It would have been perfect for the Patriots to make that move. Unfortunately, they signed Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
And they're probably still going to draft another wide receiver. So when you look back at last year, the Patriots were more than willing to do that. But he said, I don't know what Drake May is going to be. I don't know if I want to be over there. I doubt it. So he said no. He clearly wanted Pittsburgh. They were minutes away from trading him there. Kyle Shanahan stopped that. And then the Cleveland Browns, he's just like, well, what's so great about Cleveland? I don't see anybody saying that they want to go vacation in Cleveland. You know, if I had to quote the great Joakim Noah, like on top of all the other factors that I talked about, he's just like, y'all not sending me to Ohio. Man, I know people in Cleveland. That's cool, but it's very limited. Let's just say that. Yeah. It's like if I had to describe Cleveland, it would be a very limited quarterback who needs to manage the game and doesn't really give you a lot of upside. If that's the best way I could put it. So
the Gardner Minshew of cities, dare I say.
Right. The Gardner Minshew of cities. Gardner Minshew gives you some upside with his hair and his personality. I'm just talking about like somebody who's just like blah. But another report came out, which I can't wait to dissect this one because it's perfect. Brock Purdy.
Yes.
Did you know this, Andrew? Brock Purdy and the 49ers are negotiating. Now,
yes, I knew that.
No,
yeah.
All right. So stay with me. I'm gonna be the host like now. Okay.
Okay.
Stay with me.
Okay.
Brock Purdy and the 49ers are negotiating. New news. Okay. The contract might be worth 50 to 55 million, but it might be 60.
Okay.
New news.
Okay.
No deal is imminent. New news.
Now, are you going to try and tell me? Is the last thing you're going to try and tell me? They're trying to get it done before the season starts?
Exactly. And Andrew, if they get it done on September 3rd, It's technically before the season starts.
Okay.
Look at this report. Read it line by line and tell me that you need to be fighting people in Starbucks to be an insider at this point. Like, what on earth was that? We knew all of these things. We could have went to our resident Twitter source people that swear they know people, and gotten the same response. Or we could have asked ChatGPT, Grok, any of those things, and we would have gotten the same exact thing. That report was absolutely nothing. Like, not a thing.
Jordan Schultz didn't tweet it out, but he's been credited. I think he said it on a podcast. I'll read it from Underdog
he
NFL.
He wrote it.
We love Underdog, by the way. Let me read the tweet Underdog put out. Schultz, Brock Purdy, 49ers, actively negotiating extension with intent to finalize before 2025 season. Deal expected to land in $50 million to $55 million per year range. That is the tweet I saw first. None of that is new news to me.
Well, I'm shocked. I mean, I don't know what to do. I mean, I don't know why we didn't call an emergency podcast.
I thought about it. it.
Yeah, I miss emergency podcasts, and that might have been the closest that we've gotten to one. But guys, and you're smarter than this, and I love 49ers fans because they're able to call bullshit on almost everything, right? And they know, and very informed fans who understand the ins and outs, understands the quarterback market, understands what value is, all that stuff. This was a huge nothing burger and maybe even a bigger word salad. Now I'm just hungry.
Can I try and make something out of this nothing burger?
Sure.
It is very interesting. If you're a sicko like me and paying attention to this stuff, there was a report last week that Rappaport kind of threw out there that Purdy was maybe looking for $60 million, which nothing new here, but just kind of interesting that the Purdy number isn't mentioned today. It's the 50 to 55 million number. Maybe it means nothing. It's just source off at this point, right?
I was about to say, you know what it means? It means my ops said something, and they got on-site beef. So
I didn't even think of that. I forgot about the Schultz Rappaport.
That's what I said.
But yeah,
you came into the wrong fucking Starbucks, Rappaport.
Yeah, so that's something that I found slightly interesting. That the numbers were slightly different. It feels like, again, like both sides are negotiating through the media. This is just the same old 49ers negotiation tactics where money is mentioned publicly, and then we'll see what it comes out to be.
So if Rappaport says something, Schultz going to say something that contradicts that because that's his ops, and it's on-site beef. It's like Peter Griffin and the chicken. Yes. And the other problem is Jordan Schultz. If we're talking about media members fighting, not media members against players.
Yes.
Jordan Schultz is 6 to 7 inches taller than Ian Rappaport. He's got the reach. He looks like he can lift him up like a teddy bear. Like, no disrespect. I'm 6'5". But Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport are very short. Very, very short. So Jordan Schultz, I've got you minus 700 in a source-off fight. And when he refused to report with Ian Rappaport, it's because that's his ops. We got to have fun now with this, Andrew, because this was a nothing burger story.
I still can't believe that happened.
It happened in Indy while we're at the combine. It literally happened upstairs. It happened upstairs from the place that we all hang out and everything. So yeah, it's literally something that we all were sitting in Indy in the bar downstairs, which is called High Velocity, and it's in the hotel room where all of the NFL personnel stay. And we all get the alert that there was NFL security called to a Starbucks because of Jordan Schultz and Ian Rappaport, and the whole place started laughing, and everyone was running and getting their jokes off the rip. Too good, a moment I'll never forget. I love covering this game. I can't ask for a better job in the world, and I love this game so much, man, for reasons like that. I'll never forget that moment. Never.
I'm glad we turned this massive Brock Purdy breaking news into just us talking about the Jordan Schultz and Rappaport fight. But that, listen, I think Niner fans, especially now after years and years of these negotiations, I think we've all learned we do not panic until social media photos are deleted. Right. That's where the line is drawn. Our lyrics. Song lyrics.
Forget that. You know, the biggest news of the last few days that's breaking news. Sydney Sweeney deleted her photos of her fiance. So, like, what does that mean? Is she requesting a trade to a better looking man or another relationship? I think this is the breaking news that we really need to be on, because there's more to this than whatever is going on with Brock Purdy and his contract negotiations, wouldn't you say?
Was Sydney Sweeney one of the names on the 6 hours of chairs that Marvel posted today? I don't know, man.
Dude,
what was that? What was that?
Look, look, here it is.
Gotta kick the tires.
I don't know. This is, you know, and again, we have to get back to the 49ers news.
Yes.
And you guys know that, like, I'm a huge comic book fan. This is Marvel's Hail Mary. And if this fails, if this blows up in their face, they're cooked. It's over. They're washed, because they're very close to being washed. They're like that football player that you saw a little juice from, and they used to be one of the greatest, and you still believe that if you get them on a 1-year deal that they can return some value for you. The only thing that's got me excited is this potentially looks like Avengers versus X-Men with Dr. Doom pulling the strings, which, man, would I nerd out if I watched the Avengers fight all the old X-Men. And they brought back Channing Tatum, so we could start, you know, still using the stupid you know, meme from
him
you know,
talking
Wolverine.
with no spaces in between. So there we go. We got Marvel, we got Sydney Sweeney, we got Jordan Schultz versus Rappaport. I think that's the best Brock Purdy breakdown we can give. But Jay said we're a little closer to the draft now. We're getting there. The draft is coming up in about 3+ weeks. We're still a little early in the process, right? It is still a lot that can change, especially where the Niners select. But where do you sit right now with what the Niners should do with the 11th pick? What are you kind of feeling? Who are your thoughts? What do you think should happen?
Well, I wrote an article today for that website that will not be named, because I'm tired of people yelling at me like I named the website. I don't care about what you think about what the website's named. They pay the bills.
NinersNation.com.
Jesus, why'd you say it, man? You're gonna bring out it's like 16 Candyman. We're not a nation, we're an empire. Who gives a shit? Anyway, my thing is, there's different ways to go about this, and you really have to sit there and play the board. And the variable that is hard for me to decipher, and for 49ers fans to decipher, is what's the 49ers big board? Because we can scream and yell all you want. You know, look at me. I'm on year 5 of crying about Jalen Hurd being taken over Terry McLaurin. Clearly, the 49ers didn't give a shit about Terry McLaurin, and they don't really care about what we think. So when we sit here and we're like, why didn't they take this player? And why didn't you take this player? The biggest variable is the 49ers weren't as high on them as we are. Now, it's very nice when we call a player out and they become very good, and the 49ers passed on them, because it means that we have an eye for talent. But that's the variable, right? And that's the part at pick 11 that makes it so interesting, is if there's a player at pick 11 that is there, that you value, that you can stand pat on, and you say, I'm running the card up there, which I believe is Mason Graham. I don't know if he gets there. Then you do that. But what happens if Mason Graham is selected in a place where you can't trade up and go get him, and now you're at 11, and there's a player on the board, Ashton Gianti, that someone else wants? Then you trade back, and it depends on how far you go back. So I have a video coming today or tomorrow morning, actually. I was able to speak with Mike Tannenbaum of ESPN, and I asked him about the trade back process, because he's been in many war rooms as a person who worked for the Miami Dolphins and the New York Jets. We're going to leave success rate out of it. I'm just literally talking about he understands that. And I asked him about the trade back process, and he said, depending on the amount of spots that you trade back, you better like that many players. Meaning, if you're going back 5 picks, you better like 5 players. If you're going back 10 picks, you better like 10 players. And he said he's been on the side of him going and trading back and getting his guy. And he's also been on the side of trading back and someone taking his guy. Now, he said it's hard to watch that because you thought you were comfortable there. But he's been in the situation where a player that he valued at that spot was taken by somebody else, and that player never panned out for that organization as well, too. So there's an inherent risk, obviously, with just regular draft picks, But the risk of trading back is
Yeah.
someone taking that one player that you're looking for. And I thought that was the biggest piece of information that I took away from talking to Mike today, which again, this will drop tomorrow morning on the channel, is if whatever amount of spots you drive, you fall back, you better have that amount of players that you like and you're comfortable there with.
Yeah, and I'm really on the trade back proponent right now, and I've never actually thought about it like that. That does make a lot of sense that you should have the amount of players, because there is no guarantee, especially if you trade back further than 5-6 picks. There's no guarantee that the guy you want is there. But yeah, I'm at the point where Mason Graham at 11 is the slam dunk best pick. I think. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'm really growing on Jahad Campbell at 11 as well. I know it's not the biggest need.
They're not going to like him at 11 though. That's the thing.
They're not.
They're not going to like him 11.
Yeah, and that's going to be the weird one. I think that's going to be a hard sell. But if you're talking about, I can't get over how, and I know there's so many other factors that went into how bad the Niners defense was last year. I just can't believe how bad it looked without Dre Greenlaw. And then just that one half against the Rams felt like they were back. And I maybe it's too grand of a takeaway to have on it, but I think we really learned how important that second linebacker spot is next to Fred Warner. I know that's too small of a takeaway maybe to take, but it's just, I don't know, man. Jahad Campbell feels like a guy who you can really stake your claim in and just really feel comfortable at linebacker. But if Campbell and Graham aren't there, especially you look at the names, I think there's such a clear divide between, if you're talking defensive linemen or even offensive linemen, right? The two defensive linemen you would love to take at 11 is Abdul Carter, which he's not getting there, right? No chance in hell he's getting there. Or Mason Graham, who maybe is going to be there. You look at offensive linemen, it's Will Campbell and it's Armand Membu. But then after the main guys at those positions, there's really nobody you're comfortable with taking at 11,
Banks,
right?
I mean, you'd be taking Kelvin Banks just because he's a lineman.
But the thing is you can trade back to 20, 23 and probably get Kelvin Banks, right? And same thing with pass rusher, right? Like I know Mykel Williams, he's a name that a lot of people are high on. I've seen him either go top 10 or bottom 10. Like there's no in between, right? But Kenneth Grant, James Pierce, Derek Harmon, those are all names that like sound really good, but do you want them at 11? I don't know. And that's not my decision. That the Niners might be, I know a writer, I know a guy, Jordan Elliott, he's pounding the table for Derek Harmon at 11. So it really depends on who you're talking about, on those views. But to me, there's really only a couple names we're taking at 11. If you can't get those names at 11, trade back, try and get more day 2 stuff. And then whoever you can get at 20, 21, 22, whatever it may be, I think there will be some value at those spots, and then you get that extra pick. So yeah, I'm all in on Mason Graham at 11. Part of me wants Jahad Campbell at 11, but if there's not like specific names there, like trade back is just the easiest option to me.
You definitely want more bites of the apple, and that makes sense, especially considering how much younger you want to get. That's fine, but nobody cares where the player is selected if he's a stud.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the part that I think is being missed with the whole trade up, trade back, trade down, or stay at the same spot. Is Jahad Campbell's the linebacker 1 of this group.
Mm-hmm.
If Jahad Campbell and Fred Warner come close to being the duo that Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner were, and ideally Dre Greenlaw was drafted later on, then who cares? Mm-hmm. Who cares where you drafted him?
Mm-hmm.
Hit on the player. And I understand the conception, the perception of value, and where you're comfortable taking guys and things like that. That's fine. Hit on the fucking player, and I don't care where you take them, right? If you hit on the player, no one's gonna say, "Well, Jahad Campbell's an All-Pro and he's been a 6-time All-Pro, but man, did the 49ers reach at pick 11?" No, you hit on the player, and that's all that really matters. But I don't hate the idea of getting more picks because of the reason that I was telling you about the value of players. And I think that there's going to be a lot of talented football players in the 2nd and 3rd round at other positions as well too. You still are in the 1st round, So that's a good thing. You're not trading out of the first round, which would be stupid, but you get more chances to land, players that are going to help. And story 4x4ing, y'all coming out to Green Bay, low 50s yet, may get snow from the drive. If you're out there, I was just talking to Brad about that. I was thinking about it because I know it's in Green Bay, but it's the idea of being able to go to Lambeau, And last year I was so enamored with the idea of going to Detroit for the first time that I boogied out there. Might be. I'll definitely let you know if I'm out there. Then I'll let you know, man.
Yeah, and then I agree with what you're saying. Like, as long as the pick is right at 11, right? Like that does not matter. They could take insert Elik Aomana, right? Like, let's just pick a random second round name, get him at 11. If he turns out to be good, then nobody's talking about the draft. I'm just talking within now of just like, I just think there's some names out there that can be impact players at 11. But you could probably trade back. Like I think the best case at this point is Ashton Jeanty is available at 11. And then you already touched on this because that seems like I can think of 3 teams off the rip: Dallas, Denver, the Chargers trading up, trying to get him because Dallas, like, I think Jeanty goes to the Raiders at 6 at this point, but there's no way he gets past Dallas at 12. So the Niners, if Jeanty's on the board at 11, the Niners are in the driver's seat. And
let them fight over it.
Exactly. And let them fight over it. So, yeah, maybe you're not as comfortable trading back to 20 with the Broncos as you are to get, 12 from Dallas, but maybe Denver offers a better second day draft pick, right? And so, yes, is it a risk? Do you have, as Jason said, the 9 players you would want to match that 11 to 20 drop off? That I don't know. But again, the Niners are in this weird spot where they have a lot of darts, but they need all of these darts to be quality darts. And so if you can get more darts, I think that helps because it gives you a chance to get more quality hits. So it is tough. It is it's perplexing. The draft is not easy. I feel like a lot of these mock draft simulators, and I fall into it, makes it seem like the draft is easy. Mm-hmm. This is not. This is not clicking buttons on a machine and having PFF tell you, wow, you really fucking suck at this. That's a D-, bottom 12% of Niner drafts. No, this is an investment. And the Niners, they have 11 darts to throw right now. Do they need 7 of those 11 darts to hit? Possibly. But if you can maybe get in your spot in a position where a team wants to trade up to 11 and you can get a couple more darts while also making your first start slightly less valuable, I think you got to do it. So if Jeanty's there at 11, boy, oh boy, it'd be pretty fun if they took him. But I think the best case is Jeanty's there at 11 and you trade back and then you get more chances.
Kyle throws darts blindfolded. Man. I think again, all right. This is the part of the looking back on drafts where every bad pick was Kyle and Lynch.
Every good pick was Adam Peters.
Yep. And that's not true. Adam Peters loved Ambry Thomas. Ambry Thomas is working at Walmart. Adam and Adam Peters' gold helmet thing, they put a gold helmet on Mike McGlinchey. You guys hate him. So when did we figure out who's the pick and who's not? All right. So Dante Pettis, we can probably say, hey, that's Kyle. Yeah. Right? Hey, that's Kyle. Joe Williams, okay, that's Kyle. We got it.
Brandon Aiyuk.
John Lynch. Brandon Aiyuk, he hit, right? John Lynch. Solomon Thomas, right? Who drafted Jawan Jennings? Who do we give that one to? Yeah. Who drafted George Kittle? Who drafted Fred Warner? Like, the idea of it's just so funny because I see it all the time, and I'm not trying to call anybody out. Can you confirm that Ambry is working at Walmart? Yeah, he checked my receipt when I went the other day. Like he legit is there. So it's hard to figure out who and what, right? Like the 49ers have massive hits. Yeah. But those hits are just like, oh, it was Adam Peters. Adam Peters like Javon Kinlaw. You know how I know? Because he just paid him a shitload of money for no reason. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to stay on this tangent, right? Because I've been very vocal of the idea of like people have overvalued. Yeah, and Adam Peters did a great job, obviously, in Washington. I think 2 things can be true. He did a great job in Washington,
Mhm.
but y'all definitely gave him way too much credit for the picks here. Like I even had somebody, man, I did a video with Rob Guerrera. Did you know, Andrew Pasquini, that Kyle Shanahan wanted Mac Jones, but Adam Peters overruled him and gave him Trey Lance?
Interesting.
You gotta be fucking kidding me if you believe that. Like what? Like the idea was to get to number 3 so Kyle could get his guy, and then when Kyle wants his guy, they overrule. We got to be better. So this whole draft process of like whose pick is what, I think we need to start thinking about that. This is a collective, this is a group, and whatever they did last year without Adam Peters, do it again.
Yeah, just
do it again. Just do it again. And if I was a general manager, I would simply draft all the best players. My draft would be an A+. 11 out of 11 picks would all be all pros. And I think GMs, they're overcomplicating this. And one more thing about mock drafts, because I kind of lost this and I wanted to get back to it. I love when people post their mock drafts and show the trades that they have, because the other team has no choice but to accept the trade. So, you're like, oh, I fixed the Niners. The other team didn't have a chance to say no to that. So when you're like, look at this haul I got for Brandon Aiyuk, you would never get that in real life. So this idea, like, again, let's all put this back to perspective and reality. Mock drafts are for scenarios. Yes. Mock drafts are to show possibilities. Mock drafts are not reality. They are for showing different scenarios.
They're thought exercises.
Yes. I don't know how I got in this long ass tangent, but yeah.
Oh no, I like it because I mentioned mock drafts, and I mean it is the time of the season, and you see what everybody's thinking, and I think a lot of some people take them too seriously, but it's just really it's a thought exercise of if this player goes at 1, then what's the move at 2? If this player goes at 2, what's the move at 3? And it's just it's a cycle like that, and none of them are right, none of them are necessarily wrong because we don't know what's going to happen. So I just. This is going to be an interesting draft, Jason. I think it kind of just ends with that. Gojira, I always struggle with that. I'm sorry, Gojira. Niners better hire Jason. They could get him for $500K. I bet. Wow, Jason, that's a big, which is chicken feed by NFL standards. A $500K. I better see some of that, buddy.
$500K would get the job done, and I would simply ask for fringe benefits and different things, right? And
not to make this a negotiation, I would take $490K, but just throwing it out there.
Right. And
potential NFL teams, I would take $10K less.
And I would be able to join other New Jersey native Tariq Ahmad in the front office, and we could commute back and forth like he does, because he's from South Jersey and he flies back and forth to Santa Clara. We could take the same private jet, man. We'd go to Yard House first, and then we'd head over and we'd fix the Niners. And I guarantee that we'd win a Super Bowl. Like, isn't that what you guys want? Vote for me in 2025.
I could picture though. There's like it started at the back corner booth at the Yard House in San Jose, California. It started in 5 Super Bowl championships for the 49ers. Like I could see it. I could see it.
It started in Indy when I ran into Tariq, at the steakhouse, and we were talking about where we're from, and I was telling him, hey, I write for that site that shall not be named, and he says, oh, so you live in Santa Clara? I said, no, I live in Jersey. And he goes, no way, me too. And I'm like, Tariq, how do you live in Jersey and you work at 49 DeBartolo Way? And he's like, yeah, I just commute back and forth. And I'm like, dude, if you live in South Jersey, we need to go to Yard House and hit the happy hour, man. Like we do, let's talk.
I like that word commute, as if it's not a cross
commute flight. So they just send a jet.
Yeah. Jet just lands in front of his house. He just kind of walks on, takes off in the street.
Get in, nerds. We're drafting 3rd round running backs.
Bayshall Tootin. But no, Jason, I think that was a good episode. I think we yes.
Before we go,
yes.
Please tell me you listen to the Listening by Little Brother.
I need to. I'll have it done next episode. As I said, it's been a hectic week. A hectic, dude. I tried to, like, on top of the termite situation, on top of that, I try and go to the gym on Monday. I go to start my car. Battery's dead. Got to get that replaced. A lot of things going on in the Pasquini household. But no, your boy, I will give it a listen. tomorrow. We'll be ready for it next week when
Oh.
when we break down the breaking news of Brock Purdy is looking for $50 to $55 million and a contract's going to be handled by the start of the season. Yes. Jason Aponte, who is the Mount Rushmore of, I believe the word was shitty front offices.
No,
what was
it's
the words?
The Mount Rushmore of fucking stupid franchises.
There we go. We got it. Now, is this NFL only? Or are we including non-NFL?
Let's just do NFL.
NFL, okay. Because the Sacramento Kings would have to be on the list.
And the New York Knicks would be on that list too.
Yes, them too.
No, but the NFL, the New York Jets,
okay,
the Oakland, Las Vegas, Los Angeles Raiders,
okay,
the Cleveland Browns.
Gotta have the Cleveland Browns on there.
And the Dallas Cowboys.
I think that's the fourth. Yeah. I think that's a good one. Let's see here. I agree with the Jets. I agree. The Jets just for the Madden rating story. I think that's just instant. Like that's your George Washington, right there. The Browns are up there. I'm gonna put the New York Football Giants on that list just because
though.
Why is that? Because they won Super Bowls?
Because they won Super Bowls. Yes, that's why the Cowboys are on there.
On the flip side, though, I think the San Francisco Giants are a really stupid organization right now. And they won a World Series 10 years ago.
Oh, so all right, look.
But okay, but my point is yes, they won the Super Bowl, but does the Hard Knock situation from last season not cancel that out? Just the very public, like, yeah, it'd be a real shame if we lost Saquon. I would hate for him to go to the Eagles. And then he goes on to have the season. I would throw the Giants in there just for being dumb enough to allow A, that conversation to be recorded, and B, to allow me to pay $15 a month to see it. So I'm going to put the Giants on my list as my third, and then the Cowboys as my fourth.
Hot take.
Yes.
I completely agree with Joe Shane letting Saquon Barkley walk.
Completely agree, but the issue is the dumb part was to put it on HBO and then having Saquon have the season he just had. That doesn't help.
Yeah, look. Joe Shane approached that in the best way possible, and here's why. You're going to pay Saquon Barkley to get hit 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage and have nowhere near the year that he would have had with the Philadelphia Eagles because they are the far superior team. But he said, I can't evaluate Daniel Jones with Saquon Barkley. And I thought that was really important because Daniel Jones and the Giants made the playoffs. But it wasn't because of Daniel Jones. He was a passenger in the car. So if you're getting ready to allocate money to Daniel Jones, it's sink or swim now. And we'll give you a running back who's fine. You know, Devin Singletary's fine, and I think they really found a good one in Tyrone Tracy. But Saquon Barkley was skewing the evaluation process for them with Daniel Jones. So I don't think that Joe Shane said anything wrong.
Okay, that's fair. I don't think he said anything wrong necessarily either. It's just you said it on HBO, and it's just Jesse, my dog, can evaluate Daniel Jones. I like that. That's a good one. Daniel Jones.
What would he say? Is he rough or woof?
I think that does it for the podcast today. I think that was a perfect way to end the podcast today. Is he rough or is he woof? And that's Jason Aponte there for you. Jason, it was a fun episode.
I'm a dad. Dad jokes.
I love it.
Dad jokes, rage, right? Dad jokes. I love it. Dad jokes over dad bods. Let's just make sure we keep it a buck.
That's why I'm going to the gym, trying to avoid. I got a bit of a.
He says he's woof though. Look, he says he's woof. Yo, show me the guns again. Show me the guns real quick.
Oh, oof. There we go. I'll post a video of me boxing in my garage next for you. Jason Aponte, I love it as always.
Let's go Niners.
And hopefully the Niners don't have a Debo situation with Saquon Barkley situation with Debo Samuel. Am I right? Scary thought to end the podcast.
Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.